friend up in Miyagi, Ken. He's a pastor. I'm sure that Michelson Sensei knows him. He used to be the kickboxing champion of Japan a long time ago. Became pastor, and Kishinami is his name. Kishinami Sensei has been sharing with fishermen the gospel ever since the tsunami. I did the math on the results of his work, and it comes out to he has led someone to Christ basically every 22 days for the last 10 years. Okay, that's really great news.
Amen.
I mean, to me, that says people are really open for the gospel here. Okay? You know, one pastor has been seeing this, so yeah, it's exciting. There's huge opportunities in Japan. I think it all goes back to the big issue is not about evangelism, though, and I think most of you will agree. The issue is this one, right? Multiplication. Which happens through discipleship. I've been sharing a lot of places. If you share about the impact of multiplication, it's kind of a little bit too mind-boggling because it's just so huge. Basically, if we seriously did multiplication, I mean, Japan would have been reached yesterday. But just to give people in Japan, especially Christians in Japan, an idea of the impact. If you discipled just 2 people this year, and next year they each discipled 2 people, okay? That sounds pretty easy, right? Just 2 people, and the next year you're helping them disciple 2 people. Pretty much in per year, a disciple would probably lead 1 person to Christ. Just 1 person to Christ per year. And so take, for example, if you're 65 years young, a very typical age for a Japanese Christian, and what's going to happen in the next 5 years if you do this? So the first year, you're going to disciple 2 people in their 50s. We're encouraging people to disciple down. So they're discipling somebody in their 2 people in their 50s. So you're discipling 2 people in their 50s, and then the next year they're discipling 2 people in their 40s, and the next year they're discipling 2 people in their 30s. Go down like that, okay? So 5 years, what's going to happen? Well, in 5 years, you're going to see 64 people get saved. That's like amazing because that's like bigger than most churches in Japan. Yeah. Through 1 person doing discipleship and passing it on. But the coolest thing about this is you have a lot of churches right now complaining that they don't have any kids or youth. But of those 64, half of them are kids. So, I mean, this is a 65-year-old person can basically impact their future, totally transform their church, and have an amazing impact on their community with just beginning to do discipleship. As we all know, it doesn't happen very often, which is very strange. When I say discipleship, though, you saw some of the materials there. Those have been sort of in formation for forever. But just recently, they've been finally taking shape. A lot of experiences and a lot of failures. A lot of stuff has gone into the creation of the system for New Day Today. But one of the questions I began asking a few years ago was, so what is discipleship specifically? You have a lot of people saying, you know, they describe something that's more like mentoring, and they're calling it discipleship, or teaching, and they're calling it discipleship, or coaching, and they're calling it discipleship. there's teaching, there's coaching, there's mentoring, there's but none of those are discipleship. They are part of discipleship, but they aren't discipleship. And so I think there's a lot of ambiguity, even in, amongst missionaries and churches and these seminaries, and about what discipleship is. So we started digging to try to, think of what it was specifically it is. Well, it came up with a good definition, but turned out there was even a little bit exactly the same definition, but it was worded better, and found it on the internet. And it was this: head, heart, and hand. Has anybody seen this before? Head, heart, and hand model. Simple definition of discipleship. Head is you're getting God's word up here. You're getting a grasp on what God's word is. That was part of what Jesus did. The heart is actually, we're considering the character. So you're building into somebody's character, their faith, their love, compassion, their holiness in their lives. So that's the heart part. And the hand, we're calling ministry skills. So basic ministry skills. So in every discipleship situation, we need to see these three components. But then something that wasn't there was, which I added, was it's in a relationship. This doesn't happen in a seminary. This doesn't happen in a Bible study. This doesn't happen in worship service. It happens in a relationship. So we need to look at our churches and say, where are the relationships where we see these components going on? But then there's one other dynamic. What's the quality of the components here? What scriptures do you need to get a grasp on? Is there, the entire Bible and 10 years worth of that? Or is it simpler than that? Or, what about the character issues? What do we want to focus on here specifically? And what ministry skills per se? And so for the last, there was several years there, I was trying to prioritize here. We don't want something too big, and but we need something, something that's lean. Now think of this: most Christians are not in a position to determine these elements, I believe. And I say that from experience, because as I was developing the new day-to-day gospel venture system, I was kuya. I was repenting. I had done for years really crummy discipleship. And I even went back to Hawaii, my old home, and I specifically met with all the guys I discipled through the years, and I apologized to them. And I said, I didn't do a very good job. I didn't, it wasn't very systematic. It wasn't at all comprehensive. I wasn't very good at helping them with the next generation. So I did really shoddy discipleship for many, many years. And then I began to realize discipleship needs to be more systematic and more comprehensive. We're not seeing that very often. So we need, basically, a few years back, I made this little baton. Okay, it's the kind you would use in a relay race, and say that I want a discipleship system that's going to be like this. See, this thing is hollow, right? But it's light, it's slim, it's easy to hand off. So if you're in a relay race, you're passing that baton, and it's not going to get dropped. And it's going to be not something too cumbersome to run with. And for me, that's what I wanted to see in a discipleship system, something that wasn't like a file cabinet, running with a file cabinet, or running with a bowl of Jell-O, or running with a pile of, matchsticks, or it had to be easy and easy to pass. So anyhow, this is all part of what goes behind everything. I want to jump to one other issue here, and that was, so what is the basic hand ministry skills? Okay, we came up with something called the Clover system. Maybe Michelson Sensei, you've heard of the Ichigo Dendo thing. My dad came up with a strawberry evangelism idea. It has worked really well in Japan, especially for Tohoku, but I decided to come up with a Clover idea. In Christian history, anybody have any idea, ever heard of the Clover? I know somebody knows.
St. Patrick.
St. Patrick, there you go. Very good. Now, who said that? Well, yeah, and what I liked it was it was a simple thing, and it took a heathen island nation into Christendom, right? So hey, we got a heathen island nation here. Well, the clover, and there's clovers all over Japan as well. What's nice about the clover is we're not teaching Trinity this time. We're just teaching 3 basic ministry skills. And the nice clover also is cool because, I mean, you see one of them, you turn your back, and they're all over the place. I mean, they have a meadow full of them. They're a great illustration for multiplication. Clover, multiply. But the first ministry skill is that we would all be, every Christian should be able to testify. This is it, basic. What has God done for me? And we're just giving glory to God. We're not telling the gospel, we're not preaching, we're just saying God is wonderful. He did this for me. So in Japan, we came up with a system to help people do that. It's called My Miracle. I've got mine right here. I've used this a lot. I believe this is a great, it's so cool because it's personal. This is what God did for me. I have a new intern. She just arrived here from Poland a couple months ago. And I told her, Patricia, before you get to Japan, you need to have this prepared, and it should be getting printed. While she was still in quarantine, just getting out of quarantine, I guess, a box of 300 of her My Miracles arrived. So before she's even stepped out the door hardly, she's already ready to testify all over the place about what God's done. I mean, I love it. And we've got a church in Osaka right now that's celebrating their 50th anniversary. 200 people in that church have made My Miracle, they've actually written it according to our instructions, and 20 of them are printing that to celebrate their anniversary. So 20 people in one church in Osaka. I get excited. Here's a group of several ladies up in Miyagi-ken that went through the tsunami. A lady on the left, Kobayashi-san, she's real outgoing. She shares her My Miracle all over the place, any imonikai or whatever she can. Because another lady, Honda-san, who's not here, got it. She read it every day. It touched her heart every day. She'd also been through the tsunami. She came to Christ, as well as Kobayashi-san, the lady in the purple jacket. And they both made My Miracle. Kobayashi-san's real shy, though, but she can share her My Miracle, too. And the lady in the middle, Koga-san, made 100, gave them all away, and printed 200 more. So you got these ladies who are just testifying all over the place. I love it. It doesn't happen very often. We found it we did doing My Jesus stories in trainings in churches all over the place for a long time. And everybody had to send us their Jesus story as homework. And we evaluated them and helped them make them a little better, and found that probably 9 out of 10 Christians in Japan can't tell their story, really. I mean, God did a wonderful thing, and they have a wonderful story, but they can't tell it very well. So they don't tell it. So right there, the most basic of basic Christian ministry skills is not happening. So second, and then I didn't mention, but the little leaves on the clover are little hearts. Isn't that nice? So it's in Japan, the cute things are great. Cute is cool. So, you're testifying in God's love. And then the next heart is you share in God's love. And so we found that most people didn't know where to begin. What do you talk about? Most people ended talking about their churches, not about Jesus. They talk about church. So we wanted to help them talk better about, what Jesus has done. So we began developing in the field and testing it, and then basically reviewing it and editing it, and before we even printed. All these tools were field developed with the help of hundreds of Japanese believers. It's the gospel message basically tailored to certain kinds of people. So gospel share, if you look, we got the young ladies is the one that's coming now. That's really appropriate right now. There's a big surge right now in young women killing themselves because of COVID. It's just in the news this last week, in the Japan Times and stuff. So, and this is designed to touch a woman's heart. Now, I don't know what it's going to look like. Young women have to be, young women are developing this. And I'm excited to see what happens. We've seen amazing results coming with these tools. They're easy to use. The dreams ones there, you see, one is the college educated, the Beyond Dreams. The other one with the car, that's our kind of blue collar, but also works well with youth. We have both of those as an MP3 file. If you would like to, begin practicing to learn how to share those, they're real simple. You can go to the website, look at the entire tool, and I'll send you the MP3 file.
Absolutely.
So let's see. What I'm most excited about, though, is the treasure hunt. The treasure hunt is our kids' version. This makes it easy for an 8-year-old to lead their friend to Christ. That's what I love, is we're trying to, and maybe many of you know, worldwide, it's about close to 80% of the world's Christians came to Christ younger than the age of 14. This little pie chart changed my entire ministry priorities. Look at where you see response to the gospel. It's basically, if you're over age 30, it's like, wow. How much of our efforts are focused on people over the age of 30? I would say we could all start shifting our evangelistic focus a lot younger, and might see huge changes. And so what's really cool right now, this treasure hunt tool is, I've got a team of volunteers working on the treasure hunt app. So this is really great in that the treasure hunt is right now in almost 15 languages as a pocket manga. But now it's going to be on an app. So a youth can open up this, it'll be a gamified manga experience. Their friend, a Christian kid, will basically have their avatar send the app experience to all their friends. Their friends do the app, this game and manga, and they'll respond to the gospel. And the message will go back to their friend, their Christian friend. So a kid here in Tokyo, or a kid in Sao Paulo, or a kid in London, will be able to use Japanese manga to basically reach all their friends in 15 minutes. It's pretty exciting. And that'll be done this year. Gospel Venture is the discipleship series we came up with. But we said kids are just as important as adults, if not more important. And Treasure Hunt Venture is the children's discipleship and mobilization series. So we're not focused just on reaching kids, we're focused on getting kids to reach their world. And this is a kind of a rare emphasis, but I think we really need to go there more than anywhere. The Treasure Hunt Venture actually is just finished. It's in print in Japanese. It's available on Kindle in English. We've got Russian and Portuguese and a couple other languages coming. for the
Andy, can I interrupt real quick with a quick question? So
yeah.
now we're getting into discipleship material. Is that the third leaf of the clover?
Exactly. I'm sorry. Yeah.
Oh,
So
no problem.
here's the clover. That's the third leaf. You're right on target.
Okay, great. Okay,
So
thanks.
disciple in God's love. Okay. Let's see. So the discipleship series. Yeah. So basically, this is the flow. We're taking somebody on the far left. You see a lost soul, and sharing my miracle with them. And it's very soft touch. It's very yasashi. If that goes well, then tailor your presentation of the gospel to them according to who they are. And if that goes well, then you challenge them to start a gospel share or treasure hunt. I'm sorry, gospel venture or treasure hunt venture. And they don't even have to be a believer yet, and they can start. It's kind of funny. Like last week, we had one of our ladies who's reading our daily devotion. We put out a daily devotion, a miracle every day, and it goes out on Facebook, blog, Instagram, a lot of things. This lady in Chiba who's been reading it faithfully for like 10, 11 months, she wants to make her my miracle. She actually hasn't really stated that she's fully trusted Christ yet. And she already wants to make her my miracle. It's kind of, I thought my wife and I just kind of laughed. And we can't get Christians, veteran Christians to make their miracle. So you can start a gospel venture with a non-believer, and the first two books are designed that a non-believer could it'll draw them into the faith. So by the end of book two, they're like, the most Japanese thing in the world for me is to follow Jesus. That's the goal of it. So it's completely designed for Japan. The treasure hunt, the kids series is designed for global usage. Gospel venture is Japan. It's all about Japan. And I can get you the PDFs for the English if you would like. You just have to email me at drmeeko@yahoo.com, and I'll send you the link to get the PDFs for the whole series. So you'll be able to, I know for missionaries it's hard to, just go straight from the Japanese. This is pretty high level language abilities, but you could use the English side by side with the other person following in Japanese, be able to utilize that. Going back to just the establishment. Okay, so the series here is designed, I just want to the first two books are good for assurance is in their faith, and then they're in identity. And these are both designed for anybody. My wife has about 8 or 9 ladies right now she's discipling, from pastors, wives, and past women pastors, and missionaries, to non-saved people. She's using the series. The overflow. This is where so you would have to say the crux between book 2 and 3. There's Jesus asks you 2 questions. The questions are, will you believe me? Yes or no? And will you follow me? Yes or no? So we bank on the idea that when Japanese say I will, Japanese are loyal. Japanese are, seppuku and kamikaze and all that stuff, right? I mean, it's like, and then hachiko and all, it's all loyalty. So when they say yes, they mean yes. And so then from the overflow book, people make my miracle. They learn how to use gospel share, and they're pretty much reaching their world because they're serious about following Jesus here. Yeah, then by the time they're at the expansion book, they're already challenging others to start that they're going to disciple. And they're already looking for Japanese missionaries that they are going to partner with. and they're getting global. So that's how the system is designed to do in every other week for 1 year. The question then I want to come is, where do you see discipleship in churches in Japan? And what are they doing? How's it working? Because it is around. It's rare. And but learn your lessons there. And the other one is, where do you see discipleship in Japanese society? Now, I'll use it loosely here, though, because, I mean, it's not going to be, ministry skills per se, but it will be skills. So where somebody is being built into in their understanding and in their character, heart, and in their skills. Where do you see that right now in Japanese society or industry? That's my question. Where's these? We'll skip the church one and we'll go right to the society one. Have you noticed any? Any of you manga fans? Anime? What about in those?
I'm thinking of two things. First of all, recently, there was the big scandal with the Tokyo Olympic Committee chairman, Mr. Mori, and there's the new chairwoman, and she commented on the fact that she was mentored by Mr. Mori. She was his protege. Actually kind of surprised me because it really changed my attitude about Mr. Mori's attitude towards women. But anyway, this idea that, politicians have a protege that they are mentoring to eventually take over their position, their duty. But in addition, there's the whole kohai senpai idea. And like even in Japanese schools and junior high schools and high schools, when they have club sports, the kohai are teaching, or the senpai are teaching the kohai what they do in their club. If it's a sports club, it's not the adult teacher that is teaching them skills, how to, play volleyball or shoot a basketball, play soccer, whatever. It's the senpai, the older student, is teaching the younger student what they learned a year before from their senpai.
Yeah, very good. Yeah, that is very good. I think you really hit it with the college club thing. There's a lot, or circles they call them. Yeah, the college circles really have that dynamic going on a lot. Any other places you see it? Japanese society, history.
I just think of like the sushi making with the person being trained by the sushi master or whatever.
Yeah, totally. It's very, very. It's a lot more about than just sushi, rice and fish. It's magokoro. I don't know if you heard that word. It's magokoro is your kokoro really into it? Because if it's not, that thing is not going to taste right. It's beyond just rice and fish. And the master will make sure that the underling is putting his kokoro into this. Very good. There's I don't know if you've seen Demon Slayer. It's in English. It's Kimetsu no Yaiba. Okay, I think Patrick raising his thumb. It's the hot anime thing going on right now, and the main character goes through a serious discipleship process as a warrior, to become a warrior, which takes, Patrick, you remember how long? I mean, it's like over a year. It's maybe
it's like at least a year and a half.
Yeah.
You can cut the rock, and it's brutal.
Yeah, it's intense, but it's cool. It's cool to see. It's like, hey, and in a sense, aren't we slaying demons in this country, right? So Who are the warriors we have in training? The whole martial arts world is totally about master and disciple. And another interesting aspect in the martial arts is, for example, karate. I only did a little bit myself, but no matter where you are in karate, you do your daily kata. And kata it's kind of like a pattern of basically you're doing a series of punches and blocks and kicks and stepping around and you're moving around, and it's the same every time. And your kata might take a few minutes to much longer, but every day you're doing those basic kick, block, punch, chop, all that, and reviewing it and reviewing the basics. And this is something that's very inspiring because they don't get away from the basics, and they always are sharp on the basics. So this could be like, if your basics are like we just mentioned, what are the three hearts? We had 1, testify; 2, share; 3, disciple. So we're constantly, always, all of us doing all 3, and they're getting better and better and better. And that's sort of, a cool thing I think we could learn from the martial arts world is the kata. So in churches, we don't have any kata. Where are they? We don't have people, they don't even know how to do the first punch. Actually, talking about punches, this is cool because it goes back to my friend Kishinami sensei in Miyagi-Ken, the kickboxer I told you. He does evangelism just like a kickboxer. He knows exactly where to punch for the biggest impact. He's a master, and he knows the blue collar culture. He knows fishermen. He knows farmers. He knows truck drivers. He knows what they want. He knows how they're trying to get it. He knows how it's failing, and he knows exactly what they need to hear. And his kata is down when it comes to evangelism. What about calligraphy? You ever seen grade school kids? What do they all do? They all learn how to use the brush, and it all has to be very standard, doesn't it? The standardization that everybody masters the basic brushstrokes. Now, the beauty of it is everybody masters those, but then once you become a real master, then what is allowed? You've seen some of those calligraphy pieces that go, I'll ask my wife, I'll say, can you read that? And she's like, it's like, I think that's that, and I think that they're way out there. Yeah. But they're beautiful, and they're kind of like, they're amazing. But you're not allowed to do that until you have really mastered the basics. Now, it's sort of an odd thing I've seen. I'll say in our mission, I lead the innovative team. So I have people that are doing all kinds of really amazing things. But what's odd is that we maybe don't have the basics mastered yet, and we're doing all kinds of amazing other things. And so I would say my team, there's a lot of people in there that they can't testify very well in Japanese. They don't know how to share the gospel very well in Japanese. They had a very little experience discipling in Japanese, but they're doing amazing music ministries or amazing all kinds of different tech ministries or all these things. But we're doing a lot of cool stuff, but we're kind of not doing the basics. We don't have our kata. Let's see, the whole apprenticeship stuff in Japan. I mean, there's movies that go on. And did you see that movie that came out years ago, got an Academy Award? It was called Okuribito, and it was actually shot in Yamagata. It's an amazing movie, and they don't even have it in Staya. I don't know why, but it was about basically an undertaker, a guy who becomes an undertaker, and the process he goes through. He's basically apprenticed into this role, and he finally arrives. You want to see a really cool movie that is in Staya that I say is totally discipleship in Japan, totally about evangelism, is the movie Hula Girl. Has anybody seen Hula Girl? Really good to get right now, because I mean, this is the Santen Ichi Ichi anniversary, and so watch a movie on Fukushima. It's about a town in Fukushima that basically it's a mining town, and their mining is going down the tubes, and they don't have any industry, and so they decide to make a Hawaiian theme village and save their town. They have to disciple these country bumpkin girls to become, hula dancers. It's hilarious. And it's really, really inspiring too. So I have a friend who's pastoring Cordiam. I said, you've got to get this Hula Girl movie, and you're going to be inspired by it. And it's a real story too, true story. So it's really cool. Do you know the geisha even do discipleship? Yeah. We've got the whole pillow world, the whole, even in the red light district, they're doing discipleship. And the churches are still lagging behind. Let me ask, what is the basic evangelistic strategy of the church in Japan? The average local church. What is their evangelistic strategy?
Have a big event, invite them to church. Wari.
Very good.
Yeah.
Hi, Caleb. That was you, right?
Yes.
Okay. That's yeah.
Yeah, I mean, my experience is most Japanese Christians understand the importance of evangelism, but they think their job is simply to bring people to church. And then it's somebody else's job to give their miracle, their testimony, give the gospel, etc.
Both Caleb, Mike, I would totally agree. It's both of those. It's basically bringing somebody to church, either an event at the church or the weekly worship service at the church, right? That's it. Is it working?
Apparently not.
It doesn't work. What is the definition of insanity?
Doing this same thing over and over again with expecting different results.
Right? Doing that same behavior that doesn't work for you. And yeah, exactly. Thinking it's going to work the next time, and it doesn't. And you just keep doing it over and over. We've got total spiritual insanity going on in Japan. Too often last Sunday I was out in Gunma serving in a church with taking my intern out there. And it was very typical. The church is basically a sinking ship. All right. It's a sinking ship with an aging group of people that are not doing the clover at all, but they want missionaries to come in and save them. Okay. They want they want an English teacher to come in, or they want somebody to come in and attract in new people. And so they want you to come to their service so that somehow they'll get people into their service. But they're not discipling. For years, my wife and I did evangelism training, personal evangelism training in Japan. And it was good training, I think. And we finally said, forget it. we took the training and we set it aside, and we said, it's not working. If someone would read discipleship to their friends, it's very likely their friend would come to Christ. But the problem is they wouldn't read it. And we tried to help with the fear factor. We tried to help with the confidence factor. We tried, we addressed a lot of issues. We finally said it just doesn't work. And we realized that it's not about evangelism training, it's about discipleship. Everything I believe in Japan is about discipleship and multiplication from here on out. But the issue is we do see discipleship in society, but churches are reluctant. And what do you think? How can we get through this reluctancy? What ways can we help multiplication and discipleship begin to happen? Just throw that question out there.
One thing that I've been learning a little bit more for myself is just be going, invite them to join, invite them to come and see. And in the process, they actually get discipled by coming and joining, coming to check it out. And then they can go, oh, wow. So rather than trying to convince them first to come, just say, come check it out. And as they come, they get excited and they're getting discipled. And then that's something that awakens a desire for them or others to join in as well.
Good. Okay. So just good modeling. All right. Great. Good modeling. Any other ideas?
Could I ask it's kind of more of a question to your question, but
like a politician.
That's right. I'm going to answer your question with a question of my own. No. No, I mean, so the discipleship dynamic in Japan, in the workplace or other places, very much master-student. And I would say personally, as a Westerner, that makes me more uncomfortable. And so that's a certain obstacle to assume the role of a master. It's like, oh, well, I don't know that I can assume that role. That's one. So that's a Western thing, my own sort of baggage, I guess. But then I think that there's the double-edged sword that I was kind of curious of, where many lay persons might feel, well, I'm not a master, therefore I can't disciple. And so I wonder if that's a huge hurdle in a lot of churches, where they see the need, but I can't become a master unless I do, seminary and the 10 years of training. I just wondered if you could comment on that and kind of your thoughts.
Yeah, that is good. The whole issue of shikaku ga nai, I don't have the qualifications, is the big excuse. And a lot of times, now people love to go to seminars, workshops in Japan, but they don't often lead to a lot of change. Is a sad thing. Japanese love to study. And they're really good at studying, but when it comes, so actually when I was doing Kokoro care training for Tohoku after the disasters, probably over 1,000 people, I'd train and then take them immediately from the training room out into the field, guide them in the process of offering Kokoro no care. So never just train and let them supposedly go out and do it, always taking them there to do it. And then they started doing amazing stuff. I was just so excited to see average Christians doing that kind of thing. So the issue of not having the shikaku, I haven't actually figured this one out yet. We often have people say, oh, well, we needed a training on how to do gospel venture. Well, you really don't. All you need to do is sit down with another person and open the page and start reading it together. That's pretty much all you have to do. And the first time, you're not going to do a very good job, and that's okay. But the second time you do it, you're going to do a much better job. Third time, you do the series, numerous times, and pretty soon you're starting to do some pretty darn good discipleship, I think. because everything is there. The problem, though, is people look at it as something that they need to have it all down before they start. So I'm always using the illustration of parenting. It's like, how many of you were great parents before you had a kid? It's like, that's not the way it works. You get a kid and then you start figuring it out. Week 1, oh my goodness, week 2, and oh, whoa. And then you get to teen years and you're not ready for that. And, so that's like discipleship. It's just very natural. I have 4 kids. I kind of have an idea of what parenting is like now. I made a lot of mistakes along the way, but they all grew up. They all have their, all of their, fingers and eyeballs and everything still left, and they're functioning well. And so it worked somehow. And now I can tell my daughter how to raise her. No, but we make mistakes. That's okay. The human population keeps growing. How to encourage churches in that field. But I think there is a big barrier with actually Christian leadership as well. I mean, Jesus kind of faced that issue as well? If you look at scripture, he spent a lot of time actually instead of leaders, with who? Tax collectors and prostitutes are coming to Christ, and they're the ones that were responding. And yeah, it makes me wonder if, like Caleb was saying, we just disciple people. We don't try to change what's going on in church. We just disciple people, see what happens. One thing, though, and this is sort of on the side, is the area I'm excited about, the treasure hunt. We will have a celebration for the publishing of that in Ikebukuro in next month, and on the 12th, the day after Santen Ichiichi. It's like Santen Ichiichi, we're looking back, remembering all that. Santen, Ichi-ni, let's look to the future. Let's disciple kids. As exciting as the kids don't have a lot of barriers and issues and problems to follow Jesus and to do what he says. And kids will reach their friends very junsui, very innocently. They just lead their friends to Christ. I'm excited to see about kids giving an example to adults. And kids, helping reshape the idea that you don't need shikaku, you don't need qualifications, you just need obedience. God's going to start to work. So,
I'm wondering, this is great, and I love the way you point out that Japanese society is built on discipleship already, and we can use that to our advantage. But one thing that I have kind of noticed as a concern of mine is another aspect of Japanese society is what I would call the taiken, the experience. The Japanese are great at, okay, let's take children out to the rice field and have them learn how to plant a rice stalk and actually do things and experience them. And on the one hand, I think we can leverage that too. But on the other hand, for example, I have gone to a soba making class, and I've had this experience of making soba, and I did it, and my noodles were lousy, not like the master's beautiful thin noodles, mine were a mess, but I cooked them at home and they tasted good. But my point is, okay, that was fun, but I don't really think I'm going to make soba ever again in my life. If I want soba, I'll go to a restaurant. And so I wonder, how many Japanese Christians think of that if I take them along with me out into the field and say, hey, come help me. We're gonna witness to people. I'm gonna give my story to people. I'm gonna give the gospel to people. Now you do it, and they will, but they'll view it as a one-time taiken, and okay, I checked that box, I experienced it, and now I can go back to my comfortable little church pew and leave that in the hands of the master missionary, whatever. I don't know if my question is making sense, but I'm wondering, like, how can we deal with this as a potential difficulty?
Right. That's a good one. Some years ago, we had a campus crusade staff conference here in Japan, and somebody came over from the US to do the kids ministry, and they took our kids all out to do evangelism at a park. And my son got stuck trying to talk to some middle-aged man and using the old four spiritual laws, and it didn't go very well. And my son's basic response to the whole thing was, I never want to ever share the gospel again. So in a sense, the person had a good intention, but did a big disservice to my son. So the question is, how can we help people have, make a good bowl of soba and really have fun doing it? That we want to help people, succeed, make to a certain level. One of the cool things, and this is why I like starting out soft and simple, don't jump to big stuff, is something simple like sharing your testimony. We have guidelines in there. You're only allowed to put one verse in. You're able, you're not able, you can't preach. You're basically just something from your heart that you're sharing. Now, every single time I've shared my booklet and given it to a non-believer in Japan, you know what they've said? Sugoi. Every time. Sugoi. That's what I got. So how did I feel then? I felt good. Everybody I know has read it that I asked later on. Everybody. And everybody appreciated it. Some people said they read it over and over and over. That's the kind of tool I think that we want to get in the hands of a new believer or even a veteran believer, is something that when they do it, they have a positive experience and they feel like doing it again. That's what we want to. We want to set them up for that. So can you see this page here? This is mymiracle.jp. This is what I really hope missionaries will do, is that they will make their My Miracle. Now if you go over, there is an English on the far right here. Click English, and you can actually, this website is mirrored. So you can go to here, see the little start here button. If you click, well, first there's sample designs, and you can, my computer's a little slow, I'm sorry. But, you can read my Miracle, it's on there. It's kind of funny, my 90-year-old mother-in-law, she's in Gifu, so you can read hers too in Japanese. She's 90 years old, testifying all over the place with her little My Miracle. And we even get orders for her My Miracle. It's not something we sell. It's kind of funny. It's just a showing hers, and you can make yours, people want to order hers. My mother-in-law, those ladies that are up in Miyagi, all those old ladies that are sharing their testimony all over, shared their picture, they saw my mother-in-law's My Miracle, and they got inspired to make theirs. And here's the samples. Yeah, my mother-in-law's is this one right here. Ishigure Kazuko, this purple one. They saw that and they got inspired to make theirs, and now they're testifying. So if you make your My Miracle and you're modeling using it, then you are already an example to Japanese Christians all over to say, oh, I can do that. I want to do that. Japanese love to have things polished, to be confident that they're going to work. And they also want to, the whole reading thing works really well in Japan too. the personal touch is a beautiful thing. Now, I did have a veteran pastor friend, Horichi Sensei in Osaka. He just went to be with the Lord. And he told me this was batakusai. I don't know if anybody knows what that means. I'm sure Tex would. But batakusai means it's too Western. You're promoting yourself in a sense. However, in today's culture in Japan, there's a lot of that. There's YouTubers, there's bloggers, there's a lot of people that are sharing their thing, being jibun rashiku. And I think it's a good time for Christians to be a little more on that side of things. I'd encourage you all. I know David's making his right now. Make your My Miracle. You write it in English, find a friend, even a Japanese non-Christian friend, to translate it for you. That'd be cool. And then you send it to us. We will edit it for you, and it goes into this format. And it's about, if you do 100, it's like 200 yen a booklet. So it's great. My wife was just riding JAL Airlines on her birthday, coming back from the U.S. Three of the stewardesses came up with a piece of birthday cake for her or something. She gave them all her My Miracle. We share them everywhere. And our hope is that as we share this all over, that people of peace will emerge. And those people, but we need to give some kind of spiritual content in order to find our people of peace. And we figured this is one good way to do that. Maybe you give out 100 of these and you'll have, maybe 5 or 10 good conversations. And of those 5 or 10, maybe you'll find a person of peace. But you'll also touch a lot of lives along the line. A positive way for every average believer to be involved in kingdom expansion.
Amen.
Yeah.
Hey, Andy, Kevin's got a good question here. Kevin, you want to give us your question?
Yeah, sure. So Andy, you said that you always, every time you gave the My Miracle book, Japanese people were like, oh, sugoi. So then, and then you said, well, that made you feel good. So then, what have you found are good next steps, either in that conversation, oh, can I share the gospel with you? Or is that too soon? Or what have you found is good next steps after you hear that reaction?
I don't know if you can still see my screen, but you see up right here is maximize.
Mm-hmm.
Maximize. There's, when you give it to a friend, you say, I just got My Miracle published. I want all my friends to read it. Please let me know what you think. And the next time you see him, you ask these 3. So what did you think of my story, My Miracle? Have you ever thought about God? If you could know more about a loving God who's for you, would you want to? Something along those lines.
Mm-hmm.
And then if they say, yeah, then you have gospel share already.
Mm-hmm.
According to who they are. It's that simple. I had I was watching a Japanese movie the other day, and a little girl, I wanted to be able to play the footage for you. This little girl, I mean, she's not a Christian or anything. She asks this older man, she says, "Shitsumonshite? Can I ask you some questions?" He said, "Yeah." And she said basically something like, "Are you looking for something or somebody?" And he's like, "I think I am." He says, "Who is that?" And he's like, "I'm not sure." And she says, "Okay, pass. Do you believe in miracles?" And he's like, it would be nice if there was miracles." And she says, "Okay, what about this? Do you believe in God?" She says this, and he thinks long and hard. He finally says, "Oh, I don't believe there's a God." Okay, so, but I had this example of this little girl just asking me this question. I'm like, holy cow, this is incredible. I love it. A perfect example for Christians maybe to do. She was very surudoi, really right in there with it. But it's with a lot of people, I give it out and I don't get a chance to ever talk to them again. Other people I've had really wonderful conversations. At this point, let's see, I make a habit of not trying to lead people to Christ in Japan. Yeah, my wife says, don't say that. Not lead people to Christ. Because I did a lot of that for a lot of years. And then I finally came to say, Japan is only going to be really reached by Japanese. Japanese are going to lead Japan to Christ. And everything I have to do now is help them to do that.